I'd like to clarify that I've not committed some monstrous crime like most YouTube videos with this title. But you know what? Who suffered more, their victims or me? Well, maybe don't answer that. I've been living with this weight on my shoulders for quite some time now, and it all stems from the lies told in fairy tales about me, and it's time to set the record straight. Even now I could be walking down the street and some arsehole will be like, "What are you gonna do, Wolf? I'm in a brick house. You can't blow me down." And I'm like, "Ooh, yoda." This harassment campaign has gone on long enough, and whilst I dealt with the Brothers Grimm some 200 years ago on the field of battle, their tales somehow persist, and so do also other stories about me. It's just another side effect to being an ageless entity. You have time for these kind of legends to evolve. The Brothers Grimm are famous for collecting and publishing stories and tales, aka stealing, which usually I'm the most pro-crime channel on YouTube. But crime, in this case, is obviously bad, unless I do it, and then it's brilliant and daring. Publishing in 1812, they took me completely off guard, as I had my hands full with the Second US War against Britain. Over, you're not going to believe this, but forcing people onto boats. Ha! That's fucking rich coming from Americans, innit? Though this time I was a neutral party, having fallen out with George III at the time. I had to go in full damage control mode with my PR team, which consists of a few rocks I drew faces on to have friends. The book, known as Children's and Household Tales, are famous for being dark and weird, and are often edited in a way to cater to modern children. The children of 1812 apparently being made of much harder stuff like granite, as I don't think any of them end without someone being horrifically killed. The Brothers Grimm wrote their little book, and unfortunately that's what stuck. The Three Little Pigs, Red Riding Hood and the Seven Goats. I've covered what happened with Little Red Riding Hood in the last video, but the other two I've never commented on officially until today. I was always waiting for Netflix or Amazon to contact me about a documentary a bit like Tiger King, but it never came. Firstly, what do they mean by big bad wolf anyway? Bad, I get, based on eating people and celestial mischief, but big? I mean, when I discovered cream eggs I might have put on a little weight, but honestly, it's 80% fur and the rest is just for hibernation. Ignore the fact that wolves don't actually hibernate, as that's inconvenient for my point. Could they have gone with in-shape bad wolf? Was that too much to ask? I'm fairly sure they made me fatter in each subsequent edition, so not really sure what's going on there. Oh, maybe I do actually. The Brothers Grimm actually used to be a trio of weird humans until they came across me under a bridge one day. I made them answer countdown-esque questions, and they really dropped the ball in the numbers round. Maybe the stories are perhaps get back for killing their brother. Who knows? I covered Red Riding Hood in a previous Wolf Comment Corner, so here's a quick recap. Little Red Riding Hood is gang affiliated and has a great deal of jewellery, and so me and the woodcutter would break in, steal the ice, eat the grandma, and then get Little Red Riding Hood too. Unfortunately, she was pretty mean about my big bug eyes and teeth, so I blew my disguise and all that effort went to waste and it was a total disaster. So here, starting now, is an exclusive from me, the Three Little Pigs. The story goes like this. 3 pigs built houses, one of straw, one of wood, and one of brick. The first house the wolf blows down, the second house is a bit harder but is also blown down, and then lastly the wolf has no luck with the brick house. The wolf, who is very upset at this point, tries to climb down the brick house chimney, and they manage to fall into a giant pot of boiling water and die horribly. Firstly, 3 little pigs. Really? These lads were fucking enormous. Not these little piglet types, we're talking the massive swinging bollocks pigs. I mean, we're not fat shaming anyone here, but just me apparently with the big bad wolf. Yeah, still hung up on that. Alright then. Secondly, I saw these pigs building their structures, and I could have struck at any time I wanted. I mainly did it out of curiosity, as I could have killed them at any point in the construction process, as I'm pretty sure they didn't apply for planning permission, so these structures were going to have to come down anyway. Technically speaking, it was my civic duty to knock these hovels down with my Wolf JCB, but unfortunately it had a flat tyre, so I'd have to blow it down instead. The straw house got finished first. I mean, it was okay. Nothing really to write home about. I appreciated the effort and some of the thatching, as the door frame was marvellously integrated into the superstructure. Obviously, I blew that big pile of shit down straight away, with what, like a quarter puff. It was like, whoo, and it was gone, immediately. The whole huff and I'll puff and I'll blow this house down thing. But this was mainly due to being my rap artist error, as I was making a habit of rhyming my sentences. Annoyingly, they did cut out the part where I said to the pig, I'll fuck your bitch in the click you claim, but unfortunately, you have to deal with these things as mystical entities. The whole eating the pigs part was a bit of a nightmare, I'm not going to lie. I usually gather all of the things I'm going to eat and then gobble it all in one go like a Looney Tunes character, as I get terribly bloated after eating whole pigs. So this just gave the brick pig more time for his mortar mixture to set. Next up was the twig pig. Terrible. Awful. He stacked 3 twigs into a rudimentary teepee. The story makes it sound like Straw Pig's structure was far less effective of a domicile than the twig pig, but that is not true at all. I actually felt bad for the twig pig here, so I helped him build his structure up some more, and he just sat there like oink 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 and watched me do it all. So he's either lazy or just wanted to die, which is kind of sad when you think about it. This is where the recollection of my handiwork are greatly changed, and I still hold a grudge about this. If anyone in the comments can tell me the location of the brick pig, I promise not to implicate you as a co-conspirator in the subsequent murder investigation, as Brick Pig owes me a lot of money, and at this point it's more about sending a message. There I was, at my local bar, looking for mamacitas like I am prone, and this pig walks up to me. Alright, what are you doing, mate? You really want to die that badly? Then it revealed that he could do with my help for a criminal enterprise. Well, that got my attention, as you can imagine. The idea was that he was going to encourage his brothers to take out life insurance policies as a way to protect the family against wolf attacks. Smart, I said, licking my lips. He said that if I were to break into their homes and eat them, then attempt to blow down his brick house and do the same, the company would believe that this was a tragic case of poor housing construction and award the money to the brick pig without a full investigation. This was a pretty good deal for me, I thought. I'd get to eat 2 pigs, get a day rate for the demolishing of unauthorised settlements, and a nice little cut of the life insurance money. Result, this was going to be easy. Plan was going great. Got to his house. I blew and I blew, and oh no, bricks. And off I went. Later, after the police finished their rudimentary investigation, I went to pick up my cut of the money from the brick pig. And he's there, living in opulence like an Ottoman king, and he's like, hello, from his Ring doorbell camera. As to his credit, he wasn't stupid enough to open the door for me. He told me that he'd never met me before and there was no such deal. Obviously, I'm fucking fuming, and I climbed the chimney and climbed down like Santa, and whoosh, I fall in a great cauldron of boiling water. Well, that's what the story said. It turns out that the forest was a bit low on twigs on account of the twig pig's house, so it wasn't really much of a murder pot, but rather a bath. Obviously, this is a fate worse than death for a wolf and most dogs, so I wasn't very happy. The joke at the end of the day was of course mine, as the brick pig failed, much like you, to notice that I'd made no mention of eating the twig pig, as I'd stashed him in the wolf cave for later. So when I revealed that he was not dead and only Straw Pig's policy was triggered, Brick Pig only got a fraction of the money he wanted, as I acted as Twig Pig's attorney and charged him out the arse as he's a bit slow in the head. It would have been an adequate outcome for me, despite the bath, but Brothers Grimm had to go ahead and tell people I can't blow brick houses down. For this reason, I have of course considered a move to America, as I'd been informed that their houses are made out of cardboard and poppadoms, so I could tear through their cities like a vicious tornado. Hell, that's a great idea. Let me add it to the big book of wolf plots. It's important to note, as the information is already out there and there's nothing I can do at this point, that yes, bricks are my kryptonite. And it's true, I can't traverse any threshold made of brick. It doesn't matter how high either. It could be a single brick high, and so long as it's connected by mortar, I can't cross it like a vampire without being invited. If you consider this, then certain things in history make a lot of sense. The Great Wall of China, not for the Mongols but rather me. After my attempts to be Chinese empress, they decided to play it safe and create a giant barrier to stop me. Same as the pyramids, who are basically just made of giant bricks. That was to stop me stealing stuff. Next is the 7 goats, which, if you are wondering, are Tony Hawk, Steve Irwin, Daniel Bryan, Princess Diana, Lewis Capaldi, the Green Ranger, and me. This story I don't even remember doing specifically until I was reminded. You may notice a theme developing here, and that's me dressing up as motherly figures as I take the guise of Mother Goat, as well as the grandma from Little Red Riding Hood. That's not important, don't worry about that. Here's how the story goes, and then I'll tell you the terrible lies that you just believed. So the story goes that Mother Goat needs to go to the shops, Asda, I think, and she tells her sweet little children that the wolf is out there and he will try to trick you into letting him in. When I come back, you'll know it's me, she said. I have a sweet voice and I have white ankles that you can see at the bottom of the door. She heads off and the wolf comes along and says, "All right, can you let me in?" And they say, "No, you don't have a sweet voice. Our mother has a sweet voice." So the wolf goes to the shops, buys some honey to drink, and he comes back and he's like, "Oh, it's me, your sweet mother." They look under the door and they're like, "Oh, our mother has white ankles." And the wolf's like, "Oh, fucking hell." Goes out and buys some flour to make his ankles white. He comes back and says, "It's me, your mother. Look how white my ankles are." They look under, see the ankles, and start to open the door. The youngest doesn't trust the person and the door, so they hide away. The wolf comes in, looking like a right state, and eats them all. When a mother goat comes back, she finds only the youngest, and the wolf who had fallen asleep nearby after eating all of the goats, and proceeds to use scissors to cut out all of the goats, who are miraculously in one piece. This doesn't wake the wolf up somehow, and she fills his belly with rocks before sewing it up. When the wolf wakes up for his morning sippy, he goes down to the river, and the rocks weigh him down and he drowns. The end. Right, lots to unpack here, and it did not go down like this. Firstly, I had an appointment with the mother goat, and that's why I kept trying the door. To the shop at that time was very unprofessional, as I was working for Child Protective Services at the time. When I saw the absolute state of the shack that she was having her little goat children live in, it prompted me to make contact with the baby goats within. I called Officer Wolf over, and he knocked on the door, but the kids refused as he didn't sound like their mum, and they were shouting all sorts of racial stuff at him, like "Black paw, black paw." This was starting to piss me off a bit, so I tried next, using my grandma voice I mastered with Little Red Riding Hood, and dipping my paws in my coke stash, which Officer Wolf later confiscated. They let me in, and yeah, I did eat the little shit. Though legally speaking, that's how we carry things, not unlike hamsters. This was all very tiring, so I took a short nap before I took them to their new foster home. Then Mother Goat turns up. Mother Goat, being the criminal reprobate she is, cut them out of my stomach with scissors. She got them out, filled my stomach with stones, and then threw me off a nearby bridge. The story says that I went for a drink and then drowned with my rock stomach. But that's pretty fucking stupid, isn't it? Who fully submerges themselves before having a drink? Turtles, maybe? Fish? Who knows? As I fell into the bottom of the river, I was able to awaken my bonkai, and I flew to the surface and survived. By the time I got back to the goat house, fully strapped up with my 45, they were already gone, and the rumour has it they joined up with other racists, particularly chickens, who are part of the dreaded organisation, the Cluck Cluck Clan. Oh dear. At this point I decided there was simply no hope for those children, so put them on my list of people to gain vengeance on. This one actually isn't the Brothers Grimm, but is based in 1937 in the Russian wilderness. But it might as well be, as it's all total lies. The story goes that Peter is being a little shit and leaves the gate open so the duck escapes into the pond. And he starts arguing with a local bird about whether swimming or flying is better. A cat comes to eat the bird, and Peter warns it and it hides, the duck going into the middle of the pond for safety. Peter's grandfather is pretty pissed off about this whole situation and tells him that playing outside in the meadow alone risks the wolf getting to him, which is admittedly true. The wolf shows up and the cat and the bird are able to get into the tree, but with the duck in the middle of his pond, he gets caught in land and gets eaten. Now we get to fairy tale land, literally. Peter climbs up from his wall and into the tree, gets the bird to distract the wolf, and then lowers a noose to catch its tail. The hunters show up to kill the wolf, and Peter convinces them to send the wolf to a zoo instead.
And it's said that to this day, you can still hear the duck quacking inside of the wolf's belly.
Right. First off, if you're going to leave a duck out, I'm going to eat it. Right? Okay, that's just common sense. You can't hold that against me. That's just nature. That's like giving Tiger Woods a car and expecting him not to crash it drunk. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to turn him into one of those little duck pancake things you get at a Chinese, so I started to circle the tree with the cat and the bird.
Not to eat them. I was looking for a way I could get a ladder up there and help them down. I was basically a firefighter, if you think about it, trying to get a cat out of a tree. I even brought a fire engine along and lots of baby oil for the calendar.
Peter makes it sound like he was going for my tail, but we both know he was trying to lynch me. You can't trick me, Peter. Fuck you. I only ate a duck. That's like a fine at most. When the hunters showed up, whom I lost by using those backwards-facing snowshoes and, of course, my wolf ghillie suit, they were going to shoot me then and there, which honestly I would have been fine with, as look how embarrassing this is. Here's another lie Peter made about the story. I didn't get sent to a zoo. I got sent to a gulag. Fortunately, it was operating on Call of Duty rules, so when I defeated another prisoner in single combat, I was able to respawn. The duck quacking is still a problem for me though. It's way harder to sneak up on people when he starts getting uneasy. I have to eat a sack of duck seed a day to keep him happy. It's a fucking nightmare. Oh, what's this? It's the Wolf Comment Corner. Wolf, why are you cool and funny? Trauma, mostly. Why do you not stop the British when they started making horrible foods? Good question. In the early days of the Isles, where they simply danced naked around rocks, I may have been a little heavy-handed on the food. What is this shit? Yeah! I think after that they just rebelled against me by ruining food forever. Wolf, the black shuck is a hell-hounded English folklore. Was that you in your goth phase? Yes, actually, you are precisely correct. So you must really know your stuff. This was me. They say that to this day you can still hear me in my emo phase if you listen carefully in the rolling hills of Suffolk. 'Cause tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again. Don't make me change my mind. Hey Wolf, it may be old news, but what are your thoughts on scientists bringing back direwolves? Thank you for your concern on this, and the answer is I'm scared. Direwolves are huge. I barely get by these days. Too many homes made of brick, you see. So the idea of competing with those absolute units is frightening. I think I feel the same way as the white basketball players did, getting the news that they were finally going to join the Black League and have to play against Dr. J. I would have retired at that point. Wolf, how do you feel about power scaling, and where do you fit in terms of strength? Like, could you beat Goku? I think so, mainly because I wouldn't give him time to power up his fuck-ass beam. My powers tend to scale directly on how much celestial mischief I can cause, and it lets me down in completely normal scenarios. So long as I find it funny to beat up the space monkey, then I absolutely roll him, high diff. If I can't, then I'm vaporized until I can reconstitute, which unfortunately takes a long time. Hey Wolf, what did the fox say? Oh dear, oh dear. I'm sorry to say this, but lots of racial slurs. That may disappoint you, but unfortunately it's true. I can translate it if you want. What does the fox say? Wolf, if you can't read, then how do you understand the comments? Listen here, wise guy. There's a good explanation for that. And firstly, I'm learning, okay? Of all the words that I've learnt so far, I've gone with some quite basic ones. Mainly, whichever requests I make the most. Food, water, shelter, I want my lawyer, etc., etc. The rest is mainly magic. There's limits to it though. I can only perceive what I want. If you try to tell me what to do, or what restricted spaces that I can't break into, then it simply just starts to jumble around like in Percy Jackson. Also, thank you for your concern, everyone, about the wolf eating chocolate thing, as apparently it's lethal. I had no idea, seeing as I'm an immortal cartoon wolf. Were I not, then I imagine I'd have perished long ago. I've considered that perhaps it is the source of my power, but I wouldn't test it. Lastly, wolf, what do you plan on doing at the heat death of the universe? Good question. Float and wait, mainly. The laws of entropy and creation dictate that the cosmic space dust made in the annihilation of the universe will eventually coalesce once more and through gravity reconstitute a new universe. It's mainly why I watch lots of media, so I can perform it to myself and keep me entertained in the endless vacuum of the void. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a tell me why. The next is Ivan Serevich, the Firebird, and the Grey Wolf. This one is Russian, so it's incredibly convoluted, so bear with me. Basically, a Firebird kept nicking golden apples from the king, so he sent out 2 of his oldest sons to catch it. The winner gets half the kingdom and becomes his heir. These 2 lazy bastards fell asleep waiting by a tree and the bird got away. The youngest prince tried and stayed awake, but only managed to get a feather of the bird. Because of this, the bird never came back, but the king wanted his vengeance, so the wager stayed on. The 2 oldest came to a fork in the road as they pursued the Firebird, and there was 3 outcomes written on an ancient stone. Whoever took the first road would know hunger and cold. Whoever took the second road would live, but their horse would die. And whoever took the third, they would die, but the horse would live. They didn't know which one, so pissed off, I believe. Ivan decided to go himself, and at the fork in the road he decided to pick number 2, where I ate his horse.
I must have felt a bit bad about eating his horse, so I decided to give him a lift on my back and take him to the garden where he was to steal the Firebird. The wolf says take the bird but don't touch the cave. Ivan tries to take the cage anyway and gets captured. The king of the garden says he could have just asked for the Firebird, but now because he tried to steal it, he must now present the king with a horse of a golden mane.
They set off to steal from another king who owned the horse. The wolf said not to touch the bridle, and unfortunately Ivan did it again. The alarms are raised and he's captured again. And this time he's told to bring beautiful Helen to be the king's wife. The wolf and Ivan managed to get Helen from the castle, and he wept to hand her over as he had fallen in love. Therefore the wolf turned into Helen, and the real Helen and Ivan went back to the other king with the stolen horse. The wolf escaping from the king all by himself. Nice. Ivan then asked the wolf if he could shapeshift into the horse so they could do the same trick again and get both. Ivan and Helen rode home, and the wolf once again was able to escape and went back to the fork in the road. Ivar camped at night with Helen, and his brothers found him and cut him to pieces. They threatened Helen to be quiet, and one son presented the Firebird to the king and got half the kingdom. The other older son would get to marry Helen. The wolf found Ivan's body and caught 2 baby crows that were about to eat him. So the wolf instructs the mother crow to go get the water of life and death. I told you this was convoluted. And used them to revive Ivan. The wolf carried the resurrected Ivan to the wedding, where he stopped it and then fed his 2 older brothers to the wolf, married Helen, and lived happily ever after. Right, okay, a lot to unpack here. Number 1, no idea what a Firebird is. They never told me. I thought it was one of these. Possibly a parrot, I think. The fork in the road is actually pretty close to the wolf cave, so I must have heard them reading the stones that I made. Basically forcing all travellers to come in my direction. Genius, I know. Ivan showed up and he was surprisingly chill about the whole horse-eating thing. I must have felt bad and offered to give him a lift to the next service station, which I think was Cobham. I think I sympathised with Ivan's desire to steal things, so I tried to tell him about the laser sensors on the cage, but he didn't listen. So off we go to get the horse. Once again, I told him about the CCTV in the stable, but no, once again, didn't fucking listen. I'm getting annoyed at this point, and we go off to get Helen. I was happy when I heard it, as the last time I went to take Helen out of a castle, Troy ended up a fiery ruin, which was a right laugh. The campfire was really awkward now, as Ivan was trying to be all cool for Helen, and now all of a sudden he didn't want to have tremendous fun and dancing around the firelight like we were doing before. Ivan and Wolf, bedtime dance. Ivan and Wolf, Oh, okay, right. I turned into Helen real quick for the heist. As you well know, I'm getting pretty good at cross-dressing at this point, though how I even pulled it off this time, even I don't know. I assume one of the kings knew, and he was just some kind of weird furry. I escaped, no thanks to Ivan, and I do the same plan again, pretending to be the horse. It is I, Ivan, your majesty, and we have brought you the beautiful golden-maned horse. Nay. That worked somehow, and I headed off back to the wolf cave once my job was done. Then I smelt something, following my trusty nose to a meal. And there's Ivan all cut up. For fuck's sake, all that effort. It was out of principle I brought him back to life, holding the crows hostage surrounded by a SWAT team. I took him to the wedding and the ending happened as described. From the adventure, I got a horse, 2 prints, and an obscene amount of wedding cake, and full access to a buffet. Pretty solid day out, I'd say. This one really pissed me off when I read it, and that's the wolf and the fox. Foxes are cool for the most part, mainly jumping around in snow and stuff, but this one, total prick. The wolf and the fox live together, and the wolf is stronger, so he forces the fox to do everything for him. The wolf one day tells the fox to get some food, and the fox steals a lamb. Unhappy with the amount, the wolf goes back to the farm and gets beaten up by the farmer's men and thrown out. The next day, the wolf sends the fox out for food, and the fox steals some pancakes for the wolf. Wanting more, the wolf goes back to the bakery and gets hit in the head with a frying pan. Later, the wolf is hungry, and the fox goes to the farmer's cellar where they store all of the meat for the winter, but this time directly leads the wolf there. The fox takes some, and the wolf begins gobbling it all up, the fox keeping an eye out for whether he could get out through the door. When the farmer gets alerted, the fox runs away, and the wolf, after eating too much, couldn't fit through the door, is caught by the farmer and killed, a victim of his own greed. Firstly, didn't mistreat the fox. He got kicked out of his home for pissing everywhere, which foxes are prone to doing, and hence why they aren't very good pets. I let him, out of the kindness in my heart, stay in one of the wolf cave annexes, and because he didn't pay rent, the deal was that he would simply handle the meal prep for the pair of us. That's not a big ask, is it? He's not doing anything else besides. So he heads out and comes back, late, I may add, and he's like, "Oh, I found something to eat, mate," and he brings in a lamb, quote unquote, and I'm like, I'm a fully grown wolf. This is a premature baby, brother. You gotta let them grow first, you monster. So I take it back to the farmer to exchange it for a bigger one, and I get jumped by a bunch of them. Brilliant. I came back, stumbling in the next morning, and I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me you stole the lamb? I gave you money to go get it." And he's like, oh, sorry, dude. I spent the money on pancakes. Yeah, I'm making some now. So I'm like, oh, all right, pancakes in the morning. That's all right. I live with that. Brilliant. And I'm like, wait, these aren't pancakes. These are church wafers. I can't eat these. If someone points a cross at me, I'll be exorcised. You know that. So I take them back to the baker, and I'm like, "Hey, sorry, can I get these in big and edible, please?" And maybe I scared her because she threw a pan at me. So I'm fuming, and I get back, and I'm like, "You didn't buy them either." And he's like, "Well, I used money, and I found a room of meat." Well, obviously I'm curious at this point, and I forget all about the pancake thing. He's like, yeah, a whole room of meat. I think I ordered us a whole buffet. Sick, I'm thinking. We get all dressed up as we're going to go to the club after, and I saw that the door was on the small side. Oh dear. Shouldn't be a problem, I think, as I've got my good friend Fox to help me. And I start eating. And look, you better not start body shaming me in the comments. As I told you earlier, I get bloated when I eat entire roomfuls of meat. Who wouldn't? So the fox, right, listen here, the fox hears the farmer coming and just bails on me. It's easy to de-bloat me. He's done it loads of times, as I operate on cartoon character rules. So you either quickly poke me with a sharp object or put a valve on me and shrink me. Wouldn't have taken a second. So I'm there, completely stuck and alone, filling the space like a gas, cubic feet by cubic feet in the cellar. I'm looking like that little cat fella from Judgment, forming to the shape of the room. Unlike the story, the farmer doesn't actually kill me, but he might as well have. He put me to work in the fields, and it took me years to work off the bondage debt. Days never finish, Massa got me working, someday he will set me free. Lastly, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. This one is a bit different, as this one is mostly true and was well funny. So, the story officially goes that there's a kid who's looking after a flock of sheep, and he starts doing false alarms as a joke, shouting a wolf is coming, everyone. So they all run out with their pitchforks, and I'm nowhere to be seen. He keeps doing it until no one believes him when the wolf actually shows up and eats all the sheep. Right, listen to this. So I was actually there each time he cried for help. I was torturing that poor boy, I tell you. It was so funny. Psst. Psst. I'm gonna eat your sheep. This boy is losing his mind and he won't stop crying, and everyone starts shouting at him and beating him with sticks. At this point, I've done it long enough that he doesn't think I'm actually going to attack the sheep, goes to sleep, and obviously, I eat all the sheep. Can you believe it? Fortunately, I'm outside this time, after getting all bloated, so I'm able to successfully roll away down the hill to safety. And he wakes up and he's like, oh shit. And rather than report that I've already eaten them, he says another alert to cover his own ass. Luckily for him, no one came. So the worst he got was a story being made out of him for all of eternity. So there you have the truth. You cannot believe me if you want. Why would I possibly lie about stories that make me look like I'm galactically fucking stupid? Would I do that? Okay, don't answer that either. Anyway, press the like and subscribe button, as I still have the goal to outdraw Portsmouth Football Club to annoy one of the pals. Let's make it happen, please. Bye.